Hello Internet, my name is Taliesin and this is Evitel! As you can see, Evitel is currently a Murloc, and as everyone knows, Murlocs don't make videos, mate, so just me for this one, I'm afraid. This is a quick introduction to our developer interview that we had at BlizzCon today. Still today, just about. No, yesterday. Okay, it was yesterday. Get over it. We've been having a good time. So, just after the opening ceremony, just after the Warcraft What's Next panel, literally minutes after, we were granted an interview with Cobo and Shani Edwards, who are producers on Battle For Azeroth, the new Warcraft expansion. Maybe you've heard of it. Obviously, we literally just learned about the new expansion and some of the features in it. So, any questions we prepared beforehand were completely useless, and we had to kind of wing it on the spot to ask about the new expansion. But I think we got some pretty interesting answers on some subjects which I haven't seen sort of covered anywhere else. So there's some new information here, which is really worth hearing, and it's worth watching them anyway because they're just really, really cool guys. We forgot to actually get in the picture, so the camera is just trained at them, but you will hear us, and I'll be back at the end just to go over what they said as well, because, like I say, some pretty good stuff. So enjoy. Guys, would you like to please introduce yourselves to our viewers and let us know what you do?
I'm Shani Edwards. I'm one of the game producers for World of Warcraft. I typically work with the character artists, the riggers, the animators, but I also am the producer for Allied Races.
Great. And I'm Cobo. I'm a lead producer for World of Warcraft. I work with the art team and the game design team.
Awesome. So the fact that you hold the titles of producers sounds incredibly important to me. Does that mean that you're in charge of sort of organising teams of people?
Well, yeah, to some extent. So we each have our respective creative leads that we work with as well. So our jobs are primarily to organize and schedule and task a lot of these teams together to make sure that we're moving in the same direction, and we have kind of a master plan to make sure. Usually the creatives come to us with, here's what we want to do, here's what we'd like to do, and then Shani and I have to figure out how to actually make that happen.
Cool. So you don't spoil the fun, you facilitate the fun.
Exactly. So design will kind of like tell us what they want, and then it's my responsibility to go back to the character artists and be like, guys, this is what design wants to do, and then I tell them what to draw, and we go from there.
Awesome. And so I guess like a day like today, where you have the expansion reveal, and the deep dive is going to be happening in a minute. This is like the culmination of loads of work for you. Does it stop here? Is it a bit quieter for you from now on, or is this where it kind of starts?
Definitely not. I don't think there's ever a spot where it stops. We're just constantly improving on the next thing and working towards the next thing. And after this, we're going to go back to work, and we're going to put all of our effort into Battle For Azeroth.
Yeah, because we've been talking about a lot of the new systems and features of the expansion, as has been explained to us. And one thing that it kind of jumps out is the RTS elements of the expansion. And we know that there's like a real focus in sort of mobile gaming in Blizzard at the moment. Is like more integration with like mobile sources for that RTS or for any elements of the expansion? Is that something you're looking at?
So we don't really have a whole lot of plans to do any mobile for Battle For Azeroth at the moment. We do have a big RTS element, which is the warfront feature you're talking about, and in that particular feature, you jump into this mode with 20 other players, and we all have to kind of choreograph together how we're going to defeat the AI in this specific instance. So you build up a lot of the RTS kind of features with looking for resources like wood and gold and metal, so you can build your army up and you can build your siege weapons up and try and take that to the other commander and defeat him. And ultimately, the reason we're doing all this is so that we can collect the resources for Battle For Azeroth, which is Azorite. And that's the big overarching resource that both factions are trying to fight for at the moment, to try and take control of the world at this point.
Yeah, and Azorite is kind of like your artifact power in this expansion. You're going to use it to power up your Heart of Azeroth, and then that will empower other pieces of your gear.
And is it just to take a slightly different tack, because you're talking about this like RTS element and collecting resources, and then there's the whole kind of going back to vanilla element as well. I'm wondering if there are any games that you kind of had in your past, like classic games that kind of helped to shape how you think about what you do now, or something that was just like really important to you and you played it when you were younger.
There's a small game that we played called Warcraft 3.
Definitely had a big impact.
Big impact reflect on how we developed some of the features for Battle for Azeroth. We're all very passionate gamers. We all play a lot of games. Definitely play. We're big fans of Blizzard games in general, like Overwatch and Diablo and StarCraft, and so we all play each other's games, but we definitely enjoy outside games. Assassin's Creed just came out, which looks terrific, and Destiny 2 obviously is our first non-Blizzard game on a Blizzard launcher, which we're all super excited about, and we've been playing a lot of that as well.
It's really interesting you mentioned every single game you mentioned there, Assassin's Creed, Destiny, and all the other Blizzard ones as well. They all have one thing in common, which Warcraft doesn't have, which is loot boxes. Is there any chance that we'll see paid-for loot boxes in this expansion?
I don't think we have any plans for that right now. Most of our reward system has been pretty successful. Players seem to grab onto that and seem to understand how that works. And like Shani was mentioning, the Azorite armor thing is something that we're really looking forward to getting out in the players' hands, and that's kind of more of our choice element when it comes to player power-ups.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. I really look forward to collecting all that Azorite Power. I know this is something that's going to be happening with the systems deep dive, but with the new kind of artifact system, which sort of empowers the 3 pieces of armor and that. I found that quite hard to follow initially as it's being explained. It's one of those ideas I like the sound of, but I don't really understand. Is that something which is still very much in development, or is it kind of...
We're kind of still working on it, but we have a general idea of what we want to do. So basically you level up your Heart of Azeroth, and then pieces of gear that you have, like your helm, your shoulders, and I think chest, will have different abilities, 4 different circles of abilities, and then you get to pick those abilities, only one from each circle, but as you level up your Heart of Azerite, it unlocks the other circles. So say you get a shoulder slot, and it has 4 abilities on it. Like the first one will be, do you want to be damaged? Do you want to do healing? What do you want to do with that circle? And then your second circle will probably be like a utility thing, like transferring, making your Ghost Wolf form go faster, something like that. And the cool thing about the armor is we're handcrafting all of those abilities that go into it, so you won't have that level of randomization that you had with like the Netherlight Crucible.
Awesome.
So every shoulder slot that has the same name, not every shoulder slot, but say the tier shoulder slot, they will all have the same abilities. But the mythic one will be more powerful than the heroic one.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's right. And it's basically an amulet that you get at the start of Battle for Azeroth. And then another cool thing is that all of this scales with the item level of whatever armor piece you're using. So it's gonna stay with you throughout the expansion.
Boats. They were touched on.
We have that, yes.
I can't help but notice that there was no kind of Taliesin. You will be able to ride the boat of your choice and make it like write Taliesin on the side of it. Are we going to hear more about boats?
We don't currently have any plans to give players boats without Azeroth.
Wait, how do you get to the islands?
You do have boats.
Okay.
You just won't have your own boat, if that's the question. But we definitely like the idea. There's a lot of naval aspect to this, and so Alliance wants to go and team up with the Kul'Tirans because they have such a huge navy and so they're such a seafaring force. And same goes for the Horde for going to Zandalar and trying to make them part of the Horde as well, so that we can use their navy. So there's a lot of boats for sure.
And that sounds super exciting as well. I love the whole different areas for the 2 factions sort of to level up in. I just to finish off really quickly, obviously no one that works for Warcraft is biased towards the Alliance or Horde. That's obvious. But since it is an expansion all about faction warfare, where do your personal allegiances lie?
I'm for the Alliance.
Yeah, I'm for the Horde.
I've been playing Alliance since I first started, so Draenei all the way.
What's funny though is that it's kind of interesting because I look at this expansion and I'm like, I really want a cool allied race on the Alliance side, and just to get the heritage armor and all that kind of stuff. So, it's hard to say. I think both factions have a lot to offer, and so I'm hoping that...
Sorry, this is my last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, I want all that cool armor as well, and I want all the cool allegiance races, but I don't want to have to delete my 110 characters to do them on my server. Are we going to get extra character slots?
We currently plan to give extra character slots.
Yeah.
That was a good question, wasn't it?
So you will not have to delete.
That's the headline, mate. That's the headline. That's awesome. We'll let our Kronosh ask some questions. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate
Thank you so
that.
much for your time.
Thank you.
You don't have to have that stupid microphone face. There you have it, guys. Despite what many people thought and hoped for, and what we on this very channel predicted, you will not be having your own personal boats in Battle for Azeroth, the new expansion. There will be boats taking you around, but they're not going to be like class hall, order hall type things, which you can customize and call Taliesin's Law. Not that I was hoping for that, not that I thought that was going to happen, so no surprise to me, but you might be upset about that. That's what I'm saying. But good news, there will be new character slots, etc. Thank you for joining us tonight. Special thank you to our patrons who make all of our videos possible. Wouldn't be able to do anything without them. Join us for our special BlizzCon edition of the Weekly Reset, which will be the next video on this channel. Hope you enjoyed that interview. We certainly enjoyed doing it. For me, Taliesin, and this little Murloc over here. Murlocs don't speak. Don't expect her to speak. That's not how it's going to work. Cheerio.